Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be pickup. Seduction is inevitable. What we're going to talk about today is why you should have the mindset that seduction is inevitable when you meet a woman or you go out on a date with her. In other words, you want to think from the end. And I've got an email here. It's a great example of a guy doing exactly like looking at a situation with a woman who blows him off, and how leaving the door open and having an unattached, indifferent, take it or leave it kind of attitude where he extends his invitation, but then he's okay with whatever happens, whether she accepts it, keeps it, rejects it, breaks a date, doesn't matter. And how later on down the road, especially if there's another dude in the picture that she may be seeing that you don't know about initially, how this will enable her to come and reach out to you if things don't work out with the other guy. Because if you read my book, the reality is 97% of the guys out there don't know what they're doing. So you say you start dating one, even if you screw up with her, if you leave the door open, you leave on good terms, and you're just like, hey, well, give me a call if you change your mind kind of attitude towards things, or give me a call if it doesn't work out with the other guy, or give me a call if it doesn't work out for the 10th time with your ex-boyfriend that you're taking back, and then you just go on about your life, you leave the door open to where there's a 97% chance that the other dude's going to screw up, and when he does, guess who the first person that she's going to call is going to be? That would be you. And that's basically what this guy did. It's a really great story. So he had a first date set with her. She cancels it, blows him off. Then literally 4 months later, she shows up out of the blue after his roommate's going, hey, this girl's been asking a lot about you. She literally shows up at his house, and he seduces her. So he never even actually went out on a date with this girl. His first date was seducing her at his place. How awesome is that? Now, they had some mutual friends in common, which helped facilitate this. But it's just another great example of the things that I talk about. You just extend your invitation. You can't be attached to what happens to it, because you just never know what's going on in a girl's life. There may be other guys in the background. I wrote about an example of this that I had in my own life with a girl. Just things were going great, and all of a sudden she disappeared after I think it was a third or fourth date. And then 6 months later, I ran into her. She's like, oh yeah, I basically got back together with the ex-boyfriend. She never mentioned any of that stuff. Didn't even tell me she was even talking to this guy. It's like she happened to run into him. I think it was after we had our third date, and he talked her into giving her another chance because she still had an emotional bond, an emotional connection with him. So I have a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we're going to go through the email. And the quote says, the principle of being not attached to the people, things, and circumstances you desire in your life allows the universe to effortlessly and easily manifest them into your life in unexpected, sudden, mysterious, and magical ways, and in time frames that do not always make sense. The key to continually moving towards the vision of what you want, express your sincere interest, extend your invitation to spend time together without attachment, and let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes what and whom you want is not presently available, but with a little time, if it's meant to be, the universe will magically and unexpectedly send them to you. True love is freedom. Love is about giving. It's not about taking or needing. That's the one thing because this guy had read my book once when we went out on this date with this girl he met on a dating app. I think it was Tinder. And so he's going, what the hell happened? It seemed like I did everything great. And she even gives him an excuse later on when she comes back and apologizes profusely for blowing him off and tells him what the reason was. But I can read between the lines and decipher what she thought it was is not really the real reason why she ditched him the first time around. So he says, hey, Corey, I wanted to share with you a cool experience I recently had by following your advice and coaching. During my first year of college, I met this one girl through a couple of friends, and we immediately hit it off well. I was thinking, dang, I've got a hang of this stuff after reading your book only once. Pride cometh before the fall. Things were going well, and I was doing almost everything right, or so I thought. I proceeded to ask her out about a week or two after we met, and she agreed and the date was set. I didn't contact her at all afterwards and didn't hear anything from her end until the morning of. She canceled on me, and I couldn't understand why. Well, the good news is she contacted you and canceled on you instead of just blowing you off and letting you show up where you were, wherever you were supposed to meet. So that shows that you're just not just any dude that she's not into that she was going to blow off. He says, I found out through her friends that she was hanging out with other guys that night. At this point, I was thinking, shit, this sucks. What did I do wrong? Nothing. The other thing you got to assume when you're interacting with a girl, you're probably not the first guy that she's ever met that likes her. And so there may have been guys she met months ago or weeks ago or a few days ago that she's been hanging out, having fun, and hooking up with. But maybe they're going sideways, or she doesn't think anything's going anywhere with those particular guys. But yet she has an emotional bond with them because she spent a bunch of time with them. And therefore, you're brand new. You haven't even gone on your first date yet. So you don't have a lot of leverage on her emotionally to cause her to want to choose you over someone else. You're actually in a really weak position. Kind of like I am with this fucking thunderstorm that's going on in the background. So for those of you listening, there's not a thunderstorm rolling in. He says, after her canceling the date on me, I didn't contact her at all for about 4.5 months. I practiced infinite patience, but wrote her off as a loss after 2 months. I later found out that there was another guy in the picture who she ended up dating during this time. And you're going to, if you're a guy and you're dating around and or maybe you're just trying to get experience or just you will encounter this at some point in your life. And that's why it's so important to handle it properly, because when the other guy, there's a 97% chance he's going to screw it up. Guess who she's going to call when that happens? You. As long as you set things up properly for that to be a possibility. And that's why you go through life, you extend your invitations. Sometimes people accept it, but the majority of them won't. And when you extend an invitation like this guy did, and she in turns cancels on him, he just lets it go. He's communicated his interest to her. That's all he owes her as a man. He showed up. He extended his interest, but for whatever reason, she ditched him, blew him off, canceled the date. And when a woman just cancels a date and doesn't mention rescheduling or anything, I wouldn't bother calling her again to try to set another date. You were already going to give her the gift of your time, and she blows you off and doesn't. If it was really important to her, she would have wanted to reschedule. And when a woman doesn't mention rescheduling or doing it on a different day, then that means that she's just not into it for whatever reason. And that's why you never know what's going on in a woman's life that you just met. That's why it's best just to have a take it or leave it kind of attitude. And that's exactly what this guy did. And that's why it works out well for him in the end. I remember thinking to myself, be a part of the 3%, Bob. I had the confidence that this guy would eventually screw up, and sure enough, he did. About a week ago, my roommate told me that she had been asking about me a lot. So she knows him, she's aware of him, and she's thinking, wow, I really kind of ditched that guy. I gave him the impression I was really into him, I made a date with him, and then at the last minute I just canceled for no fucking reason. So she knows that she fucked up, and so this is what she does. She goes to people that she knows that are your mutual friends, in this case, his roommate, to kind of feel things out, to see if she gets in touch with him or puts herself in his orbit, what the likelihood is that he's still going to be positive towards her. He says, I was thinking, okay, this is strange. The other night, she randomly shows up at my apartment. What a coinky-dink. That's just so random. There is nothing random about that, dude. You followed what I teach. She liked you. You liked her. But there was another guy in the way when you met. So what? You left the door open. You did the right thing. And like a fucking boomerang, she comes right back to you for the boomerang lay. She went on to tell me what happened between her and this other guy, because obviously she's going to have to confess all that. And she apologized for what happened between us about 10 to 15 times that night. Obviously she was remorseful and wanted another shot, so think about it. She went from canceling a date like he's nothing to 10 to 15 times apologizing. She has a high interest in getting another chance with you. She's a motivated buyer, if you will, to use a term from the sales industry. And he's not a motivated seller. In other words, he's not so willing to part with what he's got to offer. So she literally comes to his place. She just shows up. Maybe they had friends over or whatever, and she got herself invited or just showed up because she knew there'd be people there that she knew. He says, I acted as if it was no big deal and that I wasn't bothered at all by her canceling on me. She's seeking his approval. Isn't it amazing how the power flips? Goes from like nothing like he's just garbage and trash to really going out of her way to say, you know, hey, without saying it in these words, please give me another chance. I was still very suspicious of her intentions, though. She told me that she really wanted to go out with me before, but I scared her by not contacting her before the date and not giving her much information about what we were doing on the date. That is such fucking bullshit. Women don't want any risk, because here she is. She's coming to you. She's begging for another chance when she blew you off. She knows what she did. She's not stupid. But again, she would say, oh, it was your fault. You had a definite date. I mean, do you confirm appointments with your doctor or your dentist? No. It's like, you don't show up, so what? They got 20 other fucking people sitting in the lobby. No big deal. The doctor's still going to see the same amount of people he's going to see every day. He's still going to make whatever he's going to make per hour. If she really didn't give a fuck, you would have never heard from her again. But obviously, she did care. If she was really upset that you hadn't contacted her or you hadn't called to confirm, she would have gotten in touch. Hey, are we still on for tonight? But instead, she canceled it. But at the end of the day, what are her actions show you? It doesn't matter what comes out of her mouth. What do the actions show you? Oh, yeah, she was so upset about him not contacting her. She still... What really happened, and there was another dude in the picture, and she blew you off for another guy, but she didn't really want it to come from that perspective of, hey, I ditched you for somebody else that I thought was better than you, and, well, it turns out I'm a dumbass, and he wasn't such a great guy after all. And, hey, you really are awesome. Have I told you about that lately? How awesome you are? He says, we were alone at my place, and I realized that she would not leave, and it was around 2 a.m. Again, look at her actions. Women vote with their feet. If they're with you, it means they voted for you. So she's voting for him. She's there. She's with him. We ended up sleeping together that night, and it blew my mind. I even spoke to her again, and I just set a date for tonight. Thanks again, Corey, for helping me be a stud. Thanks for applying the things that I teach, dude. Now you're another guy. Not only can you help yourself and have great experiences for you, but also for this girl and anybody else you happen to date. But you can inspire your other guy friends so they don't ever get bamboozled by a chick like this and running after her for 4 months, begging her to blow that other guy off. Instead, you're like, hey, give me a call if it doesn't work out. Hey, give me a call when you figure your schedule out. And you let it go. The girl just showed up. The real reason she wasn't available when they met. That's the truth. Look at her actions. Doesn't matter what she says. Her actions show she wasn't available and she was more emotionally involved with another guy. She knew you were a catch, but she really thought things were going to work out with this other guy, and therefore she didn't need you because she had somebody else. But yet, when she realized that other guy wasn't what she thought she was, what happens? She shows back up. Makes it easy. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.